It wasn't supposed to happen. Not between these two. Yet halfway across the Pacific, a discreet handshake between Beijing and Mexico City has shattered expectations, igniting a new flame in the heart of the Americas. China has accepted Mexico's offer. A bold economic alignment, a diplomatic chess move, and possibly a trigger for the next global recalibration. What does it mean for the United States? For Latin America? For the balance of power stretching from Shanghai to Santiago? This is not just about trade deals. It's about control. And the world? It just shifted. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Because what you're about to hear might just change everything. Now, let's break it down. The offer that rewired Latin diplomacy. The announcement arrived not with fanfare, but in hushed tones. A diplomatic maneuver executed with deliberate discretion. A bilateral agreement was sealed between President Xi Jinping of China and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. The signing took place quietly, just outside the historic city of Mérida. This seemingly low-key setting belied the potentially earth-shattering implications contained within the signed documents. Mexico's offer to Beijing was a strategic package designed to attract significant investment. It included guaranteed access to a newly expanded Pacific port corridor on Mexico's west coast, providing China with crucial access to North American markets. The pact also granted favorable tariffs and regulatory environments, specifically for Chinese manufacturing zones, to be established across northern Mexico. This positioned China closer to the U.S. border for manufacturing and assembly operations. Furthermore, Mexico committed to full integration with China's colossal Belt and Road Initiative. This unprecedented step formally plugged a major North American nation into Beijing's ambitious global infrastructure and trade network. In return for this access and integration, China pledged a colossal sum, over $120 billion in investment into Mexico. This funding was earmarked for transformative national projects. It would build critical infrastructure, including upgrading ports, railways, and highways essential for the new trade routes. Significant portions were also allocated to renewable energy projects, aligning with global energy shifts. Crucially, a substantial part of the investment focused on digital trade networks, building the technological backbone for the new economic links between the two nations. The scale and nature of this Chinese investment, directed into a nation bordering the United States, carried an undeniable geopolitical message. It represented a direct and significant challenge to America's long-standing traditional sphere of influence in Latin America. The agreement was seen by many analysts as cutting through America's backyard like a sharp blade. One of the most revolutionary elements of the pact centered on financial technology. With this agreement, Mexico becomes the first Latin American nation to fully integrate with China's burgeoning digital yuan system for cross-border trade transactions. This move bypasses the conventional international banking system, which is heavily reliant on the US dollar. By enabling direct transactions in digital yuan, the pact takes a significant step towards dismantling the dollar's long-held dominance in regional transactions. For China, this pact represents a major strategic victory and the establishment of a significant bridgehead in North America's immediate proximity. It is a palpable expansion of Beijing's global influence using economic tools. Analysts were quick to label it a quiet invasion, one built not with military force or tanks, but with economic power and infrastructure projects. The focus was on building terminals, digital networks, and trade routes that fundamentally shift economic power balances. The strategic implications for North America. To view the China-Mexico agreement as merely an economic arrangement or a matter of trade convenience would be a critical miscalculation. This pact is, at its core, pure and precise strategy directed at reshaping regional power dynamics. For decades, Mexico's economic and diplomatic orientation has undeniably leaned north, deeply intertwined with its powerful neighbor. Institutions like NAFTA and its successor USMCA ensured Mexico's vital trade arteries pulsed directly into the economic heart of the United States. This created a dynamic where Mexico often functioned primarily as a partner heavily dependent on the American market and its economic cycles for growth and stability. But the global landscape has shifted dramatically in recent years. As U.S. politics have turned increasingly inward, sometimes questioning long-held alliances and trade relationships, China has simultaneously sought to expand its influence far past the confines of the Pacific Rim. Recognizing this evolving dynamic and perhaps sensing an opportunity, Mexico has shrewdly repositioned itself on the global stage. It is no longer acting solely as a dependent partner, but strategically asserting itself as a potential pivot point in the unfolding great power competition. Across Mexico, concrete manifestations of China's massive investment are rapidly emerging, physically reshaping the country's infrastructure. High-speed railways are being planned and constructed, aiming to connect key economic centers with newly upgraded Pacific ports designed for increased trade with Asia. Massive solar grids are being installed, powering industrial zones and reducing reliance on traditional energy sources. Perhaps most ambitious is the development of a new interoceanic passage across the narrow Tehuantepec Isthmus. This project is explicitly designed to rival the established importance of the Panama Canal for global shipping routes, offering an alternative controlled outside traditional Western influence. Against this backdrop of rapid Chinese-funded transformation right on its doorstep, Washington's official silence has been widely noted. By many analysts and observers, this lack of immediate public response has been found deafening. The lack of immediate public condemnation or a clear counter-strategy from the U.S. government has raised concerns among allies and analysts alike about America's awareness and response to the shifting regional balance. Behind closed doors, however, the concern within the U.S. defense and intelligence communities is anything but silent. Analysts understand the profound strategic implications of China establishing such deep economic, technological, and infrastructural roots so close to American soil and its critical supply chains. The stark warning circulating among U.S. defense analysts captures the gravity of the situation with unnerving clarity. The phrase signifies the perception that a major geopolitical rival has established a tangible, influential presence in a region historically considered exclusively within the U.S. sphere of influence. The dragon is now in our backyard. Infrastructure and the new Silk Road South. China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, often visualized as a vast network weaving through Africa, across Asia, and into Eastern Europe, has now undeniably found a new critical path. It is carving a significant route directly through Latin America. More specifically, it is carving this path through Mexico, placing a key piece of Beijing's colossal global infrastructure strategy right on the doorstep of the United States. This expansion marks a bold geopolitical move. Concrete evidence of this expansion is the commencement of construction on a project known as the Trans-Mexican Logistics Spine. This is a massive undertaking designed to create a modern, high-capacity corridor linking Mexico's Pacific and Gulf coasts. The spine integrates high-capacity rail lines, modernized highways, and advanced digital fiber optic networks running concurrently. This creates a seamless, multimodal transportation and communication corridor across the narrowest part of Mexico. The strategic intent behind the Trans-Mexican Logistics Spine is unmistakable and directly challenges existing paradigms. By creating an efficient cross-country route, it directly bypasses traditional logistical bottlenecks and transportation routes that have historically been American-controlled or American-reliant. This new infrastructure allows for the redirection of massive amounts of shipping traffic away from established hubs. Goods originating in Asia, previously destined for ports in California or relying on the Panama Canal for Atlantic access, can now be offloaded on Mexico's Pacific coast. From there, they can be rapidly transported across the country to the Gulf, then onward to markets in the eastern U.S. or Europe via alternative shipping lanes. This physical infrastructure project fundamentally redefines the logistical map of the entire region. It offers shippers a viable, potentially faster and cheaper alternative to established trans-Pacific and trans-Isthmian routes, significantly altering global trade flows and dependencies. The leadership and execution of this massive project rest squarely with Beijing's state-backed infrastructure firms. Companies like CRRC, a leading rail manufacturer, and China Harbor Engineering Company, a global port and marine contractor, are leading the charge on the ground. Their involvement underscores the strategic national importance China places on the project's success. These are not merely private ventures, but extensions of state power and long-term geopolitical strategy aimed at expanding influence. For Mexico, the project represents a clear promise of modernity and significant economic advancement. It brings desperately needed infrastructure upgrades, creates jobs across multiple sectors, and positions the country as a vital transit hub in global trade, potentially boosting its economic standing and regional importance. For China, the logistics spine is much more than just a trade route. It is a tangible, physical gateway to the Western Hemisphere. It provides concrete infrastructure to support its growing economic presence and strategic influence throughout Latin America, bypassing geographic barriers previously managed by rivals. For the United States, situated directly north of this new corridor, the project serves as an undeniable wake-up call. It is a stark, physical manifestation of a major geopolitical rival establishing a significant, permanent economic and logistical presence right on its border. The sight of state-backed Chinese firms building critical infrastructure designed to redirect global trade flows away from American ports is a clear visual representation of the shifting global order and the active challenge to U.S. dominance in its traditional sphere of influence. The political whiplash. In Washington, D.C., the details of the China-Mexico Pact landed like a shockwave across the political landscape, causing immediate and widespread alarm. The political whiplash was palpable across the aisle and within government agencies. Republicans were quick to denounce the agreement with strong language. They called it an economic betrayal, arguing it fundamentally undercut American trade interests and sovereignty by allowing a major rival to establish a powerful economic foothold directly in North America. Democrats, while also voicing apprehension about the economic implications for American industry, expressed particular fear regarding the potential for a significant security breach. They highlighted the inherent dangers of allowing Chinese state-linked technology and personnel such proximity to the U.S. border. The Pentagon reacted swiftly to assess the potential threats posed by the new arrangement. Reports indicated the Department of Defense had commissioned no fewer than 3 classified assessments specifically focused on the security implications of the Chinese tech zones established near the U.S. border. These classified assessments were likely examining the potential for industrial espionage, cyber intrusion into U.S. critical networks, and overt surveillance capabilities embedded within the infrastructure and technology deployed in these zones. Proximity to sensitive American sites was a prime concern. The fear engendered by the pact was perhaps most starkly articulated by Texas Governor Ron McKellen. Speaking for a border state acutely aware of its proximity and vulnerabilities, his warning resonated deeply with many concerned Americans. Governor McKellen stated grimly, "We now share a border not just with Mexico, but in essence, with Beijing." This phrase captured the perception that China's influence had transcended the Pacific and established a physical, tangible presence on the North American continent itself. Meanwhile, within Mexico, public sentiment regarding the pact is deeply split, reflecting a nation grappling with complex identity issues and its economic future. Some segments of the population hail the agreement as a long-overdue liberation from economic dependence solely on the United States. They see the massive Chinese investment as a pathway to diversifying Mexico's economic partners and asserting greater national autonomy on the global stage, seizing an opportunity presented by shifting global dynamics. Conversely, other Mexicans express significant fear and skepticism about the potential consequences of such deep ties with China. Concerns include potential cultural dilution from increased Chinese presence, fears of political overreach by an authoritarian state, and worry about the erosion of Mexican sovereignty under the weight of massive foreign investment and influence. Tangible signs of this dissent have already emerged across the country. Protests erupted in cities like Oaxaca, a cultural heartland, highlighting resistance to perceived foreign influence. Flags were reportedly burned in industrial centers like Monterrey, symbolizing anger and rejection of aspects of the agreement. But despite the political firestorm in Washington and the public dissent on both sides of the border, the reality on the ground in Mexico remains clear and driven by powerful economic forces. Construction on the massive infrastructure projects funded by China continues unabated. Reports indicate that the pace of construction is even faster than initially expected in many areas. This suggests a determined effort by both Mexico and China to rapidly solidify the pact's physical manifestations and make the new reality on the ground undeniable. Mexico is changing, fundamentally and perhaps irreversibly, through this rapid integration with China's economic and strategic vision. And as history consistently shows, change on this scale inevitably invites both the promise of progress and the significant threat of peril. The economic aftershock. The direct investment from China has already begun to reshape Mexico's economic trajectory, promising a period of rapid growth and transformation. Mexico's GDP is now forecast to expand by a significant 6.2% over the next 4 years. This projected surge is driven by the influx of capital and infrastructure development related to the pact. Manufacturing costs within Mexico are expected to plummet due to improved logistics and the creation of new, efficient production zones. This economic activity is creating a surge of new jobs, especially in regions once economically overlooked or underdeveloped. Areas along the Pacific coast and the interoceanic corridor are becoming new hubs of employment and opportunity fueled by foreign capital. For the United States economy, the aftershocks are already being felt significantly, particularly among major American corporations with operations in Mexico. Industrial giants like Intel and electric vehicle leader Tesla have notably suspended planned factory expansions in northern Mexico. The companies explicitly cited strategic uncertainty as a key reason for pausing their multi-million-dollar investments. This highlights how geopolitical shifts and perceived risks, rather than just market conditions, are now directly impacting corporate investment decisions in the region adjacent to the U.S. border. Perhaps most alarming for Washington and American financial institutions is the direct challenge posed to the dominance of the U.S. dollar within its traditional sphere of influence. The dollar now faces potent competition from a major rival currency in its own backyard. The integration with China's digital currency system is rapidly translating into tangible shifts on the ground in Mexico's financial ecosystem. Digital yuan wallets are now reportedly accepted in over 1,500 Mexican businesses, from major retailers engaged in international trade to smaller vendors connected to the new infrastructure. Furthermore, Chinese digital payment terminals, such as WeChat Pay, are rapidly popping up in markets and businesses across Mexico. These are areas once almost exclusively dominated by traditional Western payment systems like Visa and MasterCard, signaling a direct challenge to their market share. In the financial heart of the United States, the reaction to these developments is one of undeniable nervousness. Wall Street, sensitive to geopolitical risk and shifting economic landscapes, is clearly uneasy about the implications of the China-Mexico Pact for established financial systems and trade flows. Traders and analysts are actively recalibrating models, attempting to understand the long-term impact on trade routes, supply chains, and currency dominance. The uncertainty introduced by the agreement and the speed of its implementation is causing ripples in capital markets. The sheer scale of the economic transformation set in motion is being recognized by major international financial institutions. The World Bank, a key barometer of global economic shifts, has weighed in with a stark assessment of the pact's significance. It calls the China-Mexico agreement nothing short of the most disruptive hemispheric realignment since NAFTA. And this assessment emphasizes the profound break from the past and the creation of entirely new economic corridors and power dynamics that bypass historical norms. And analysts agree, this is not the culmination of the shift, but merely the beginning of a larger, potentially global trend. The full economic consequences of this new integration and its impact on global and regional economies will unfold over the coming years, reshaping trade, finance, and influence. Latin America reacts. What happens in Mexico echoes across Latin America. Brazil has expressed interest in a similar infrastructure pact. Chile, already exporting lithium to China, now negotiates digital integration deals. Argentina is reviewing a proposed Chinese-backed space observatory in Tierra del Fuego. Regional blocs like CELAC are rebranding, seeking autonomy from U.S.-centric models. China's playbook is no longer about ideology. It's about infrastructure, efficiency, and access. And it's winning. The continent is tilting, not just left or right, but east. The military angle. What about defense? Officially, there's no military clause in the agreement. But satellite imagery shows dual-use airstrips under construction near Chinese-funded logistics hubs. In the Gulf of Mexico, China's oceanographic vessels now operate under the guise of research. And in Baja California, whispers speak of intelligence-gathering operations disguised as telecom hubs. The U.S. Southern Command has increased aerial patrols. Cybersecurity specialists warn of backdoors and data funnels. While no shots have been fired, this is a conflict of presence. A silent war for proximity. What comes next? So what happens next? All eyes are on Washington. Will the U.S. counter with its own infrastructure package? Will it renegotiate the USMCA? Or will it ignore the storm brewing just below the Rio Grande? In Beijing, officials remain tight-lipped, but their moves speak volumes. This is not an incursion. It's an invitation to a world where alliances are flexible, trade flows eastward, and influence no longer wears the American flag. China and Mexico have lit the fuse. Now the world waits for the blast. Thanks for watching. If this report resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and comment with your thoughts. Your voice matters. And for more world-shaping news, geopolitical insights, and analytics, subscribe and stay informed.